7 out of 10 adults over 40 wake up during the night. Not once, multiple times. And by the time you cross 60, the odds are worse. Up to 50% of adults over 60 report chronic insomnia symptoms, and according to a 2026 report from the National Council on Aging, nearly 40% of those cases go completely undiagnosed. Undiagnosed means untreated. Untreated means years of broken sleep that most people chalk up to the same explanation: getting older. That is just how it is now. But here is what the research actually shows. Waking 2, 3, or 4 times a night after 60 is not an inevitable feature of aging. In the majority of cases, it traces back to one specific physiological change that begins in your 40s, accelerates through your 60s, and directly interferes with the two things your brain needs most to keep you asleep: melatonin production and the nervous system's ability to shift into deep, restorative sleep. And once you understand what that change is, the fix is straightforward, inexpensive, and backed by randomized controlled trials in older adults. But these pharmaceutical industries hide these facts so they can drain your wallet with temporary fixes, sending you home knowing you will come back to pay them more. But I won't allow this to happen anymore. That is why I created this channel, to expose the system and to share what is best for you and your health. Hi, I'm Dr. John. Subscribe and hit like. We're building this to 1,000 subscribers on one principle: the system profits from your sickness, not from you being healthier. In this video, I am going to show you exactly what is driving the problem at a physiological level, the single most common mistake people over 60 make in the evening that makes it dramatically worse, and then a specific 4-part evening protocol. All of it is inexpensive, all of it at home, every step backed by published research in older adults that addresses the root cause directly. But to understand why the protocol works, you need to understand what is actually happening inside your body when you cannot stay asleep. According to the National Institute on Aging, older adults wake an average of 3 to 4 times per night and spend significantly less time in slow-wave sleep, the deepest, most restorative stage compared to that of younger adults. Most people assume this is structural, that the aging brain simply cannot produce deep sleep anymore. But research consistently points to a different explanation, one that is physiological and correctable. Magnesium levels naturally decline with age. By the time most people reach their 60s, their dietary intake of magnesium is already below recommended levels, and the body's ability to absorb it from food has also reduced. That combination creates a chronic, low-grade deficiency that most people never test for and most doctors never mention. And magnesium is not a peripheral nutrient. It is directly involved in 3 of the most critical biological processes for sleep. First, magnesium is required for your body to produce melatonin, the hormone that signals to your brain that it is time to sleep and stay asleep. Without adequate magnesium, melatonin synthesis is impaired. Second, magnesium activates GABA receptors in the brain. GABA is the primary calming neurotransmitter, the neurological equivalent of a dimmer switch on your nervous system. When GABA activity is low, the brain stays in a lighter, more alert state even when the body is physically tired. That is why so many people over 60 describe lying in bed exhausted but unable to stop their thoughts, or falling asleep easily but waking at 2 or 3 in the morning with their mind already running. Third, magnesium regulates muscle relaxation. Low magnesium is directly linked to restless leg syndrome and involuntary muscle tension during sleep, both of which fragment sleep architecture without the person always being aware of the cause. So in 2012, researchers enrolled elderly adults with insomnia and gave half of them 500 milligrams of magnesium daily for 8 weeks. The results were significant across every measured outcome. Sleep time increased. Sleep efficiency increased. Serum melatonin rose. The insomnia severity index dropped, and morning cortisol, the stress hormone that keeps you alert when you should be resting, fell. They also found out that a nightly combination of magnesium, zinc, and melatonin significantly improved sleep quality, improved ease of falling asleep, and improved morning alertness. These are not observational studies. These are controlled trials in the exact population we are talking about, and the mechanism is consistent across all of them. Replenishing magnesium restores the biochemical foundation that deep sleep depends on. Now there is a second piece of the puzzle that compounds the magnesium problem, and it's also a leading cause of sleep fragmentation in older adults: nocturia. It means waking at night to urinate, and it affects up to 80% of adults over 60 and is the single most commonly cited reason for nighttime awakenings in this age group. Nocturia is influenced by fluid regulation, bladder sensitivity, and cardiovascular function, all of which change with age, but it is also directly worsened by magnesium deficiency. So what you get is a compounding cycle. Low magnesium disrupts sleep architecture and makes nocturia worse. Nocturia fragments sleep further, and the fragmented sleep prevents the deep recovery that would otherwise help regulate the hormones involved in fluid balance. You wake up tired, the biology stays dysregulated, and the cycle repeats. But here's the part I want you to think about. If you are waking 2 or 3 times a night, how much of that do you believe is unavoidable? Write your answer in the comments, because what I am about to show you suggests the answer may be very different from what you have been told. But before I share the protocol, I need to address the single most common mistake I see people over 60 make in the evening, because no sleep routine can overcome it. The 3 biggest behavioral drivers of nighttime awakenings in older adults are alcohol before bed, caffeine consumed too late in the day, and large volumes of liquid in the hours before sleep. And yet all 3 of these are remarkably common in this age group, often framed as part of an established evening routine that feels harmless. Start with alcohol. The widespread belief that a drink before bed helps you sleep is one of the most persistent and most damaging myths in sleep medicine. Alcohol does help you fall asleep faster. That part is real. What it does in the hours that follow is not. Alcohol fragments both REM sleep and deep sleep, increases nighttime urination, and elevates body temperature during the second half of the night, which is when your body's natural cooling process is supposed to trigger the deepest sleep stages. You fall asleep quickly and wake up 2 hours later feeling restless and warm. Then again, an hour after that. Many people attribute those awakenings to age, but it's not your age, my friend. It's that lovely alcohol you drink while watching a rugby match, even when your partner offers you to switch it with water. So yes, alcohol before bed consistently degrades sleep quality in older adults, even in small amounts, so I recommend you avoid it entirely in the evening. Now, caffeine. Did you know that the half-life of caffeine in an adult over 60 is between 8 and 14 hours? Longer than in younger adults, because the liver processes it more slowly with age. That means a 2 o'clock coffee is still 50% active in your bloodstream at 10 at night. Most people do not connect their 3 a.m. awakening to the afternoon tea they had at lunch. The connection is physiological, and it is direct. And the fluid volume issue is simpler. Large amounts of liquid consumed within 2 to 3 hours of bed increase overnight bathroom trips, regardless of their source. So, I recommend that you reduce large fluid intake in the late evening. Now with those variables understood, here is exactly what the evidence supports as a replacement. The protocol has 4 parts. Every single component is supported by published research in older adults. Every one of them costs close to nothing, and none of them requires a prescription or a specialist appointment. The first part is a specific bedtime tea, consumed 60 to 90 minutes before sleep, that addresses the magnesium deficit and melatonin precursor supply at the same time. The recipe is simple. 1 chamomile tea bag, brewed in hot water, combined, optionally but effectively, with banana peel tea. To make the banana peel tea, take a clean banana peel, boil it in water for 10 minutes, strain it, and mix that liquid into your chamomile. Drink 1 cup, warm, not hot, roughly an hour before bed. Chamomile is not folk medicine. In fact, in 2017, researchers found that chamomile extract significantly improved sleep quality in elderly participants compared to a placebo. The active compound in chamomile extract targets the same receptor pathway that pharmaceutical sleep aids target, and produces a calming effect without the dependency or morning grogginess. The banana peel component is less discussed, but biochemically significant. Banana peel is rich in magnesium and tryptophan, the amino acid precursor to both serotonin and melatonin. Combined with chamomile, you have a drink that addresses GABA receptor activity, melatonin precursor supply, and magnesium replenishment simultaneously in a cup that costs less than 50 cents. The second part of the protocol takes 2 to 3 minutes and requires nothing except your own hands. 2 acupressure points have been studied specifically for sleep in older adults. The first is HT7. It is located on the inner crease of your wrist, directly in line with your little finger. Press that point firmly with your opposite thumb and hold it for 1 to 2 minutes while breathing slowly and deliberately. Then switch wrists and repeat. The second point is SP6, located on the inner leg forefinger widths above the ankle bone. Press firmly for 1 minute per side. HT7 specifically has been studied in care home elderly and shown to improve insomnia scores and total sleep hours. The second point, SP6, has been identified as one of the core acupoints for senile insomnia, improved sleep quality, lengthened deep sleep duration, and increased REM sleep. The mechanism is consistent with the modern understanding that sustained pressure on peripheral nerve points activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the biological state that is the opposite of the stress response. 2 minutes. No tools, every night. The third part of the protocol addresses the environmental and behavioral inputs that either support or undermine everything else you are doing. Dim your lights at least 1 hour before bed. Screens, phones, tablets, and televisions emit blue light that suppresses melatonin production. Alongside that, spend the last 30 to 60 minutes before sleep doing something that actively brings down cortisol. Gentle stretching works. Progressive muscle relaxation, systematically tensing and releasing each major muscle group from your feet upward, has been validated as an effective sleep intervention. But don't forget to keep your bedroom temperature between 60 and 67 degrees Fahrenheit. Your body initiates the transition into deep sleep through a controlled drop in core temperature. A room that is too warm interrupts that process, regardless of everything else you do right. The fourth and final part is the simplest, but the one most people resist because it feels counterintuitive. Stop all significant fluid intake 2 to 3 hours before bed. This directly addresses the nocturia component, the nighttime bathroom trips that are the leading cause of sleep fragmentation in this age group. If you are thirsty after that cutoff, take only small sips. The chamomile and banana peel tea you made in step 1 counts toward that cutoff. Drink it at the 90-minute mark, and then nothing significant after that. Less fluid volume in the bladder during overnight hours means fewer signals to the brain that interrupt the sleep cycle. When these 4 components are applied together, the research on each individual element gives us a clear picture of what to expect. The 2012 magnesium study showed improvements in sleep efficiency of roughly 15 to 20% in elderly adults within 8 weeks. The 2025 acupressure meta-analysis found meaningful reductions in wake after sleep onset across multiple trials. The fluid timing adjustment alone reduces nighttime bathroom-related awakenings in the majority of seniors who apply it consistently, and chamomile's effect on GABA receptor activity begins the same night you drink it. Within 1 to 2 weeks of consistent application, you will begin to notice a measurable difference in how many times you wake and how rested you feel in the morning. But the compounding effects matter beyond sleep itself. Good sleep improves morning alertness and mood. Sleep quality is directly linked to blood pressure regulation, immune function, and cognitive performance, all of which are priority health concerns after 60. Fixing your sleep does not just fix your sleep. It fixes your life. Let me bring all of this together. Up to 70% of adults over 40 experience regular nighttime awakenings, and by 60, the majority of those cases are chronic and undiagnosed. The research consistently points to one underlying physiological driver. The age-related decline in magnesium, which impairs melatonin synthesis, reduces GABA-mediated nervous system calming, disrupts muscle relaxation, and worsens the fluid regulation issues that produce nocturia. Alcohol before bed fragments deep sleep even in small amounts and makes nighttime urination worse. Caffeine consumed after early afternoon is still active in your bloodstream at bedtime. Large fluid volumes in the evening increase overnight bathroom trips, regardless of their source. And the 4-part evening protocol: chamomile and banana peel tea 60 to 90 minutes before bed, 2 to 3 minutes of HT7 and SP6 acupressure, a dimmed, cool, screen-free wind-down environment, and a fluid cutoff 2 to 3 hours before sleep addresses each of these variables with interventions validated in randomized controlled trials, specifically in older adults. None of this is complicated. None of it is expensive. The chamomile tea costs pennies. The acupressure costs nothing. The environmental adjustments cost nothing. The fluid timing costs nothing. What it costs is consistency, applying all 4 parts together every evening, long enough for the physiological effects to accumulate. If you apply this tonight and wake up tomorrow having slept through fewer interruptions, write it in the comments, because that data, coming from people in their 60s and 70s who actually ran this protocol, is exactly the kind of real-world evidence that matters. If this channel is giving you the kind of specific, research-grounded health information that the system hides from you, consider subscribing right now so you never miss when I expose what they hide and save you hundreds of dollars. This is Dr. John.